What the hell is Qnap doing right now? Welcome to the Raid Room. Today we're going to discuss this brand here, a brand that I have discussed on the channel at length for a very long time. Right now, when their biggest competitor in the market, Synology, seems, at least in the eyes of prosumers, home labbers, small medium businesses, as far as they're concerned, Synology is massively shitting the bed. Qnap are not seemingly grabbing the bull by the horns and capitalising on this. Now, I genuinely believe that having competition in the tech market in any field is a good thing. Yes, consumers may get conflicted about certain devices they need to buy, but I think it is inarguable that competition between brands can lead to innovation, and therefore I liked it when Synology and Qnap were at loggerheads all the time. But where are we now, and why exactly does it feel like Qnap are just sitting there doing nothing? Well, let's go through that. First things first with Qnap, we have to acknowledge that up until a few years ago, that Synology were kind of kicking their ass. There was a period where there was parity. Think of the Sega Nintendo years of the 1990s before Sega went nuts and released a console every 8 to 12 months. But when you look at between the years about 2017 to about 2020, maybe 2021, Qnap were doing damn well. They were they're competitive with their platform, QTS. They were closing the gap with Synology DSM platform. They were releasing hardware that was genuinely innovative, from things like USB direct attach storage integration on a NAS, Thunderbolt storage, some of the most powerful hardware in the market at that time, and starting to discuss integration of ZFS on their platform. But what happened? I think we all know what happened. QSnatch, QLocker, Deadbolt, to name but three. They had something of a mere few years where they were just getting hit with security incident after security incident. Now, how much of that people were annoyed about them potentially losing their data, or the way Qnap handled it, which for a lot of users was even worse than the actual security incident itself, because a lot of people had backups in place, but they hated that Qnap didn't respond promptly enough, and in some cases actually pushed an update to a number of systems. And again, there was a misunderstanding about how that was done, but still nonetheless, it did seemingly lead to systems having quite a hefty update pushed and updated immediately. The fact still remains that a lot of users have still got a nasty taste in their mouth about this brand, even in 2025, a few years after Deadbolt occurred. However, that's not enough of the reason to say why right now they are not riding high when Synology is seemingly getting an absolute kick-in even on their own Reddit. Now, a next big part of that is because of competitors. It isn't 2017-18 to 2020-2021 anymore. There are a lot more brands in the market. These guys, for example, here, always a bridesmaid, never the bride. Asustor have always been in the market, but seemingly have always lived in third place, and dare I say, fought for third place against the likes of Terramaster. Now, they closed the gap significantly with systems like the Flash Store series there, and even the Locker Store series, emulating and in some cases undercutting in price alternatives from even Qnap, but still nonetheless, they have still never been a brand that have managed to challenge Qnap formally, at least as far as the top rankings go, but nonetheless have played their part in, after the Deadbolt stuff happened, stealing some of those sales, even though they got hit by the same damn ransomware. They weren't hit as bad in the way they handled it, much like Terramaster was seemingly better. And that really harmed it. It wasn't just the incident, it was the way it was handled. But we've also got to acknowledge UGREEN. UGREEN have been in the market 1 year, theoretically. I'll say theoretically, in the West they've been in the market for a year. They've actually been around for a few years in the East. But because they have not had a major security incident, which frankly we also have to acknowledge, we want to see how they actually handle one, but because they've never had a universal large-scale security incident, and they are a brand name that is very well known in accessories, power banks, cables, adapters and more, they have fit beautifully into this gap that Synology over the last few years have seemingly been creating in the market space, because they've been releasing weaker and weaker hardware, introducing more and more restrictions into their platform. And ultimately, that whole tier of people that spend between $250 and $2,000 have been feeling bereft by that brand when they've been refreshing solutions they bought 5 to 7 to 10 years ago. And when they've come along, they've looked at Qnap and gone, oh, I've heard bad things. But UGREEN, my mate's got a UGREEN in his house. My mate's got a UGREEN travel docking station battery cable. The bottom line is that right now, one of the other major reasons that Qnap have not been making more noise and not been more present right now is because of competitors, because we haven't even got onto crowdfunding alternatives like the Zimmer Q, like the Orico Cyber Data, like one of many NAS solutions alongside pre-built NAS solutions coming out of China that are OS free, like the likes of the Asustor system, and even Minis Forum throwing their hat into the ring, which has really opened up the market for very competitive options and allowing brands such as Unraid, TrueNAS, Zimmer OS, and more to provide a turnkey solution for users that up until this point went for brands like Synology, Qnap and more because they were turnkey and easy. The gap gets smaller. But is there any other reason that we're not hearing more from Qnap? Well, probably contrition. Let's be honest, after the whole Deadbolt security thing happened, we have to acknowledge that they took a lot of lumps, and one of the largest criticisms they got was in terms of software development and in terms of software stability. No one was really faulting them much in terms of hardware. There were some incidents where they had solutions like the 7.2 series where the backplane, there was quite a large number of failures, and they did facilitate where possible replacement backplanes. But I could come up with an example like that on a number of different NAS platforms, Synology included. Look at the +2 series. But it was the fact that their software was seemingly, or at least looking at all these vulnerabilities, full of holes. And that's why Qnap, from all the people I've spoken to at Computex a few times since the incidents first occurred there, a few different UK-based attempts and events, and talking to Qnap themselves, they doubled, trebled, quadrupled down on software. They then rolled up and increased security testing with pen testing, integration and working together with Pwn 2.0 and integrating other assisted AI security investigations into their platform in order to find where those vulnerabilities can be. And having a bounty program helps as well. Alongside that, the number of hardware releases they have launched in the last few years drastically reduced. They clearly looked at there wasn't that much of a market anymore, releasing 12 different kinds of 4-bay and then reduced it down to 4 or 5, and this was implemented and observed across the range and extended, by the way, to rack mount. They also diversified into a lot more adapters and switches and surrounding equipment. And right now in 2025, when we saw their tech summit, no one would have forgiven them if they rolled out a new Intel Celeron or Intel Alder Lake or Twin Lake powered system, but they didn't. They rolled out a lot more of the businessy money solutions. Now, that obviously peed off a lot of users who didn't want to buy a solution like this that's starting to show its age. But nonetheless, it was the mature decision to make. And like it or lump it, I kind of respect them for not just chuffing out a new solution in the way they have in the past. And definitely, I've got to at least acknowledge that one of the reasons we've not heard much from them with regards to upgrading their 2, 4, 6 or even 8-bay series up to this point is probably because they were reconfiguring their entire business, readdressing where the weaknesses were. Now, is that successful? I don't know. I can't see their sales numbers. I don't know if this even was their intention, but I can only say it as I see it. And what alongside the likes of this device here, which by the way, remember, this came out in 2022. This device here with a Celeron processor, you can now get QUTS on board. You can get ZFS on this within their QTS platform, or QUTS platform, and the benefits of inline data deduplication, inline data compression, increased RAID parity levels, faster RAID building, RAID resilvering, and more. All of that, they have doubled down on the software development more than the hardware. So yes, they have been quiet on the hardware front, but when you look at the press room, you look at the news releases, you look at their Reddit and more, you see a lot more about the software, and that's probably the mature decision to make. So to make the question a little bit more immediate, What the hell are Qnap doing? Well, right now, what we're seeing is, firstly, the rollout of pretty much all of the solutions from the large 60 bay all the way down to the Thunderbolt 5 stuff and more, all being rolled out and released in the next quarter. So within Q3 and into Q4, we're going to see a myriad of solutions from the brand rolled out. Alongside that tech summit that I went to in Taiwan, it looks like there's going to be multiple of those across the world where they're going to be showing off the new software integration and the new hardware being rolled out. With, from what I can vaguely hear, that the follow-up to this series is now moving into Q1, Q2 of next year. Again, not going to be music to everyone's ears, but right now, what the hell are Qnap doing? At the moment, I'd like to think they're taking their lumps and just keeping their bloody head down and getting the job done. Will it work? I don't know. I hope so, because I really think the market needs it. And nonetheless, no matter what happens, competition can only be good for this industry. And I look forward to making a video like this in 6 months where we go, what the hell did Qnap do rather than what are they going to do? It'd be great to look back. But thank you so much for watching. If you've got a suggestion that you want to hear discussed in the raid room, you know what the comments are for. But apart from that, I will see you next time.